Hi, welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to another Fan Zone. I'm joined by Laurie Lark. I'll say I'm joined by... We're always here. We're always here. It's a Fan Zone episode as always. So to join us on the conversation, all you got to do is download the AFTV Plus app and click on, get involved. The conversation today is, are Arsenal ready to be back in the Champions League? Now, where this all came from, my little idea on the way into work was what we're going to discuss. International break. Obviously, we have Everton on Sunday, but what is there to discuss now? Arsenal obviously back in the Champions League, kicking off their campaign against PSV next week at home at the Emirates. And when I've spoken to fans about the Champions League, it feels like there's a sense of our group's really easy. We should fly through it. Speaking to Turkish, the only teams that we should really worry about is City and Real Madrid. And I was just looking at these teams.
I just hope the players are not got that same attitude.
And this is, I believe, where this live
is a recipe for disaster.
Exactly that. And this is where this live came from. And obviously, they've released the list, the full squad that they're taking to the Champions League, which I will get through in a second. And I just want to talk about, there's injuries there. We've seen Cedric Suarez being introduced into that squad. There's obviously big games. It's Champions League football. It's something that some of these players probably haven't featured in playing for Arsenal. So I want to just open a conversation now. We can see that Fan Zone is clearly working because we have two callers already waiting in the green room. So we'll make sure we get moving fast through the intro and get to them. But Laurie, just your thoughts on the topic topic for this show, and also any other surrounding thoughts before we get into the main bulk of the conversation.
You know what? The first thing I want to say is congratulations to you for selecting the topic.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's a very good topic, man. And it is relevant. It is salient. First time back in the Champions League next week for the first time since 2017, 6 years, is it?
2016-17 season, yeah.
And correct. If you think about it, previous to that, we'd qualified for the Champions League, I think it was like 17 consecutive seasons. Then we no longer featured for 6 seasons. Now we're back in it, which is great, by the way. Although and this speaks to a lot of what we were just talking about earlier about some of the fans, in my view, no disrespect Turkish, but I think you're being a bit complacent when you only identifying 2 clubs that you got to worry about. I mean, the group that we're in, Arsenal, PSV, Lens and Sevilla, you would look at that and think we could have got worse. It's not exactly the group of death. However, the teams in that group do need to be respected. I mean, Sevilla last year, they won the Europa League. PSV beat us last year. Lens finished runners-up in the French league last year to PSG. So there's no mugs in that group.
100%.
And the fact that we've not played Champions League football now for 6 years, so we are a little bit at a disadvantage because of that. So I do think we need to treat the competition with the proper respect, the opposition with the proper respect. And, don't get me wrong, we should qualify from the group. But when I'm hearing fans saying, the only 2 teams we've got to worry about who was it?
Man City and Real Madrid.
Yeah, then I think that's a little far-fetched, don't you?
It is. No, for me, I think that's what. Listen, I'm going to give you the whole oversight of why I kind of came up with this, and really, I want to see you guys in the comments as well. Give your super chats, your comments as well on this topic, because there is definitely a conversation in this, and let me just read some of the things I had prepared. I know Laurie did mention some things here. This will be Arsenal's 20th season participating in the UEFA Champions League. The previous 19 all came consecutively between 1998-99 to 2016 and 17 season. Obviously, we haven't returned in the past 6 years. I'm going to go to the 25-man squad. I think it's 25-man squad. There's been 25 players that have been announced. So changes to the list can only be made before the round of 16 in February 2024. So Jurrien Timber, if he is fit by, let's say, January, they can add him to the list. So he obviously hasn't been added to the first list because his serious injury. But when clubs can register a maximum of 3 new players, such as new signings or previously injured players, but overall limit of 25 players remains. So again, if we get some new signings in January as well, they can be added to the list of the Champions League squad. So the Champions League squad includes goalkeepers Aaron Ramsdale, David Raya, and James Hilson. Defenders Cedric Suarez, one of the defenders. I have to highlight that one.
I didn't know he was still at the club.
Lino Souza, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Alexander Zinchenko, Ben White, Gabriel, Jakub Kiwior, and William Saliba as the defenders. Some good defenders there, in my opinion. Midfielders Mohamed El Neni.
Is he fit?
Oh yeah, didn't he? I should have read this. I should have definitely checked this before. But Mohamed Elneny, that was a surprise to me. I'm assuming he has to be fit. The players aren't fit, haven't been selected.
Maybe by the time the games get underway, they expect him to be fit.
But Mohamed Elneny, that is a surprise to me. Mohamed Elneny, Jorginho, who Declan Rice commented on this week on Channel 4, the England FA, talking about how he surprised him, how intelligent he is as a player. So Jorginho's in there. Thomas Partey, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Kai Havertz, Fabio Vieira, and Emile Smith-Rowe. Emile Smith-Rowe being added in for me.
Why are you surprised by that?
No, I'm happy to hear that he's included.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I know he's still an Arsenal player, but I hope he gets minutes. It's nice to see his name. I really know, because I feel like we're just. It's definitely not mistreating him, but it's just I've got question marks why we haven't seen him of recent. So it's good to see him in there. The forward line, that have been included: Leandro Trossard, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, Reece Nelson, Edin Nketiah, and Gabriel Jesus. So our main attackers. So that is the full squad that has been.
That's a strong squad.
It's a massively strong.
There's a couple of players there that I have to admit I've not seen in action for Arsenal. Mm-hmm. Notably Lino Sousa, is it?
Yeah.
So if he gets a look, I'll be interested to see how he gets on. Not seen much of the goalkeeper James Hilson, but we've got to be honest. He's pretty much way down the pecking order after Ramsdale and Raya. So I doubt if we're going to see him. But if we do get a look at him, it'll be interested to see what goes on there.
100%.
But I mean, if you look at that squad, that is a strong squad. There's some very good players in there. Some players coming back from injury, but all in all, that squad looks strong enough to at least get us out of the group. I mean, I was going to say, what is your aspirations for? What's your ambitions for this
obviously
Champions League? Right?
Obviously, I want to go all the way. I think.
But what's your minimum?
Out of the groups. Round 16, maybe like quarter five. I want to say, I don't want to be. The things that's annoying me, I've looked at the group. I've looked at it and said, we have to get out of this group. But then, am I being just too sentimental that this is Arsenal Football Club and of course we should? And am I going way ahead of not thinking about injuries, thinking about the amount of matches these boys will be playing? The fact that this is another thing I've got in my notes. Arsenal's average age this season is 24.9, whereas last year it was 25.2. So in total, we have a younger squad this season.
We also got a better squad.
We have a.
No, we do. I mean, listen, we spent 105 million on Declan Rice alone. Jurriën Timber, Kai Havertz. There's been some big money signings in the summer.
Please,
we are stronger than last season.
Please, can we put a poll in the chat? Do we have a better squad this season than last season? I think many people will agree with you, but there is been question marks on it due to the injury of Jurriën Timber, Havertz not kicking on, and then people obviously.
Yeah, but that's early days. Yeah.
But please, can we get a poll in the chat? Have we got a better squad this season? But like I said, average age 24.9 this season, 25.2 last season. That lack of experience can also come at a detriment to Arsenal. I mean, the only people that have won the Champions League in our squad are ex-Chelsea players, obviously Havertz and Jorginho. So there's not many people that have massive experience coming into this competition, which I think can hinder us. Also, I want to mention as well, Arsenal have not played.
I think a more pertinent question to ask the fans, or another question to ask, could be, what's your expectations for the tournament? Because, like you said, most people would expect us to get out the group. I don't think that's overstating anything.
But we lost the PSV.
But what I'm saying is, how far do you think we can go? Like, to me, I would be disappointed if we didn't get to at least the last 16 quarterfinals. You know what I mean?
Of course, fans. That's
so. What is your minimum? I don't think getting out of the group is enough, if I'm being honest.
Okay, well, I'm saying getting out of the group is what Arsenal should be doing, but I have to be aware that
that's bare minimum.
Of course, but PSV did beat us last season 2-0. Seville, I think we also beat them. Of course, but we got knocked out by them. And if you look at the Seville, I think out of the last 5 games from 2007, we've won 2, they've won 2, and we've drawn 1. So of course we beat them 6-0 in the Emirates Cup. I'm trying to, in actual competition, our odds aren't great there. But because two people go through, I expect us to get out of the groups. However, after that,
see what used to happen to Arsenal previously when we were in the Champions League, and this is what got a lot of Arsenal fans frustrated, including myself, is that typically what would happen is we would get out the group stage, and then the first time we come up against one of the better teams in the knockout stages, we'd get sent home. Sometimes humiliatingly so, i.e. the Bayern Munich defeats.
I was about to bring that up.
But we have certainly assembled a strong squad this season. I would argue it's a significantly stronger squad than the one we had last season. And one of the reasons for doing that is because we knew that we were going to be playing in competitions like the Champions League. We knew we were going to be contesting the Premier League. I would say that, you see, I don't want to start sounding complacent, but it should be almost a given.
I think we're all doing this. And you're right. Your standards have to be high.
No, but I guess what I'm saying is there's an expectation that comes with spending all that money. You should at least be, I mean, listen, if we don't get through those group stages, that will be seen as a major failing by the fans. Don't you agree?
Yeah, we'll be upset.
Let's see what the callers.
We will go to the callers, but Chill Dude with the comment. I love this comment. No confident with Arteta in the Champions League, and that is. I say I love this comment. It's really bad of me to say that, but I'm just saying Arteta hasn't actually been in this competition as a manager. So he's new to it as well. So obviously he's been in previously for Arsenal, but as a manager, there's a lot of first times.
No, but when he was at City, he was.
I get that he was involved, but as a manager and leader, there's a lot of listen. It comes with a lot of pressure. It comes with a lot of responsibility.
I guess I need to be careful of being, because I criticise Turkish and that a lot for saying that there's only 2 teams to worry. I wouldn't go that far, but at the same time, I do think that the squad we've had and the money that's been spent, if we don't get at the group stage, as far as I'm concerned, that is a major failing,
100%.
Massive disappointment.
I'd be very.
That being said, you know, I guard against complacency, even myself. We have to approach these games in the right way. I guess what I'm saying is, if our approach is right, our preparation is right, and we do our due diligence, we should get out the group fairly comfortably. Because like you said, it's 2 out of 4. And let's be honest, the 3 other teams in that group are teams that Arsenal should, on any given day, be beating.
Okay, well, let's see what the callers have to say, because they are waiting in the green room. Let's get the headphones on and get Alfie straight in to give his thoughts before we go to the comments.
Hello,
Alfie. Nice. I love that.
Hi, yeah. Thanks, appreciate it. I'm good today.
Good. I'm feeling good as well today. I see you wearing that kit. I'm wearing that. I shouldn't be doing this, but the merch has me in a chokehold.
Yeah.
Got the new merch.
Everyone's merched up.
I know it's really good. But listen, Alfie, let's get straight into this conversation, because you know, are Arsenal ready for the Champions League? Do you feel confident? Of course, we're back in there, and all the fans are happy to have us back in the Champions League. But are you confident going into it with the, kind of all the other things that are happening at Arsenal?
First of all, I wanted to congratulate you on doing the Simon job at the Simon match. Had we get well done. Also, Jordan on the Forever Arsenal. I don't know why he's calling it a waste of time. Quickly.
What did he call the Simon match a waste of time?
Yeah, he said it's a waste of time. I know he doesn't like it, and he said he's not that generation. But it ain't a waste of time, in my opinion. If you look at the podcast, even James called him out for it and said it's not a waste of time. If you look at the podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that tonight. I was just about to message him, but I'm on the live, so I don't want to be too... thank you for that. I'm going to make sure I'm onto Jordan for that, because how dare he? Anyway, that is outrageous.
But going to the Champions League, I don't know why Cedric's in there. That's one player. Like, if Arteta's been Cedric in there, why not Pepe? Who's obviously now left the club, but if you're giving Cedric a chance, who was on loan at Fulham last season.
Yeah, correct.
Why not give Pepe a chance? Like,
I think that comes down to, if we're being brutally honest, we can't get rid of Cedric. You know what I mean? If I'm being brutally honest.
But also cover as well.
There's not been a queue of
I know what you're saying, but also he's a natural right back, and some people, argue his quality, but he's a natural right back. Timber is out. Ben White's looking like he's featuring more in the centre back position. I'm going to keep it 100
on the Cedric side.
I don't think Cedric's been terrible.
I was
he's not great, but not terrible. Go on.
Surprised when he even came into the club in the first place, weren't you?
Well, no, Arteta said, he's the most natural in his position when he first came in. I mean, people always talk about trust in Arteta. I trusted in him.
That was a strange signing. Anyway, the caller you were saying.
My worry is about the Champions League this season. I'm confident, like you two, but my worry is it's Arteta's track record in Europe. Right. So I remember his decision, like when he one game when we need to go away, bring Aubameyang off for Willian, like stuff like that. And he's never been there before. My only hope is that Europe hasn't played against us that much, like from last season, so they don't know how to cope with us, and that's the only hope I've got. I'm a little bit worried Arteta's going to panic, especially if we go out the group stage and do decisions like we did against wherever team was when he took Aubameyang off for Willian, like stuff like that. That's the only worry I've got.
Yeah,
I have to agree to a certain extent, because if we're being honest, not just in Mikel Arteta's tenure, but Arsenal's performances in Europe have been, let's be honest, a little disappointing. We've underachieved. I mean, we've not won any of the 3 European trophies. We got to the final of the Champions League in 2006. I was actually at that game with Robbie. We did play well, got beat by a very good Barcelona team. We lost that game 2-1, so there's no dishonour in that. But it has to be said, man, that our, performances in Europe, by and large, have not been stellar. We haven't done that well, I would say, in the Europa League. And yes, you are right to raise some questions about some of Arteta's decision-making in some of those Europa League games. I mean, last season, I think it was a lot of fans kind of didn't make too much of it, but I was very disappointed with our Europa League performance.
I was expecting us to win it, to be honest.
Yeah. We should have done better. There's no doubt about it. Should have got to at least the final.
Agreed.
We went out to Sporting. Let's be honest, man. It was flat, wasn't it?
Absolutely flat. And
so
I agree.
We need to do better. But what I am saying is, we are in a group. We have been quite fortuitous that we're in a group in the Champions League that we are expected, and we should get out of that group. Maybe I'm guilty of it a little bit, having called out people like Turkish, but I don't want to be too complacent, but I would have thought that, and listen, I understand that we've not been in Champions League for 6 years, but I would have thought that the expectation is we'll get to at least the round of 16 or quarterfinals.
Yeah, like, as a club, if we're taking away the manager, as a club, we should expect to get to at least out the groups. Yeah. That's like, in my opinion, non-negotiable. You have to. So we're a massive club in Europe. Yeah. We're the 3rd biggest club in England. Like, let's be real. Like, I get your point as well, like the history as well, because like, even when we had the Invincible team, we got knocked out against Chelsea, I think it was, in the Champions League. Like, that was our best ever team, I think, in ages. So I'm just a little bit worried that the squad depth's not there.
I think if you look at that squad, I mean, Cecil went through it. I think that's a strong squad. I mean,
squad depth is
my point is, if it was a good squad depth, Cedric Suarez won't be in there.
Yeah, but I don't think, if we're being honest, Cedric is not going to feature majorly, if at all. I wouldn't have thought. I'm just keeping it 100.
The one I do get.
Seam and El Neni are not likely to feature.
I get the El Neni one. I get why El Neni's in there, because El Neni could be the player, because he was in the squad last time we played in Champions League. So he has been there before with us a couple of times. So I get that one. But Cedric, I don't think he's ever played in the Champions League before.
If people stay fit, I can't see Cedric getting much game time. But hey,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Well, listen, Alfie, thank you so much for joining me. And just before joining us, apologies, just before we leave, I did message Jordan, and he said, I will admit, in hindsight, that was a harsh comment. I'll retract it. Unnecessary. He said, I did agree with James that you were the only good thing about it, though. So thank you very much for making me aware of that comment, and I'm glad that, Jordan, if you are watching this, you've retracted it. But Alfie, thank you for joining.
Before we go, with the goalkeepers, who would you start, Raya or Ramsdale? Because I can't make my mind up quickly.
I think he might go with Raya, because if not, when's he going to get a game?
What would you go with?
I'd go with Raya. I mean, why did we bring him in if we're not going to play him? You know what I mean?
What are you going to take more seriously quickly, the Premier League or Champions League? Because obviously Champions League, you can't rotate the squad as much like you can do in the Europa League. So what are you going to take more seriously?
I think their priority will be the domestic competition, the Premier League. However, I do think it could be a 1A, 1B type of thing. You know.
Just before you go, this sounds mad. I think Raya gets more minutes in the Champions League for me, but I don't think he just abandons Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale may play the first one at home against PSV, but then we start to see Raya introduced. But Ramsdale keeps his spot in the Premier League, because I keep having this thing of Ramsdale's worked so hard for Arsenal to get back into this competition, to then drop him completely. I think it's outrageous.
That's one thing I don't like what the fans were doing when Raya came in. All of a sudden it was like Ramsdale should get dropped for Raya. Like, Raya is a good keeper. He's a great number 2. I think we've got the strongest lineup in keepers now in the league. But Ramsdale, what he did last season, remember the Spurs game? It was?
Yep.
Like, all of us would never have dropped him. Only because Raya's come in. It's like, come on, give Ramsdale a little bit of time. If he makes mistakes, then drop him. But right now, he's doing all right.
I agree. Listen, Alfie, thank you so much, my brother. Lovely to hear from you, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care, bro. Let's bring in Michael. I think Michael is in next. We've got some super chats, but we'll come to that after. Michael!
Hey guys, how are you? You hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you loud and clear, Michael. Very happy right now, my friend. How are you?
Good. I don't really understand why there's this undertone of fear in talking about the Champions League. I think that the real fear has to be with City and Real and Bayern, that they might not get to the final because there are teams like us out there that haven't been in the Champions League for a while that have been steadily improving while they've been treading water.
So you're confident we'll get to the final then? Because you're basically saying that we shouldn't be feared. We shouldn't have fear. Sorry, but are you confident that Arsenal are going to go to those heights that you're talking about, those clubs like Bayern and Man City have been at? Do you think Arsenal will get to the final?
I'm confident that we can. That on our day, what's different with this side versus the ones that failed in the Champions League before is that I think we now have one of the best back fours in the world. I mean, Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White. I mean, that's the kind of back line that we never had back when we were losing to Bayern 10-2.
But do you think those players can keep that level when they're playing, whatever it's Saturday, Tuesday, or Saturday, Wednesday, or Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday, sorry, or Saturday, Tuesday? Do you think they can keep that level if they're playing that back line through all the games, Premier League and Champions League? Because you're right. I think it's a great back line, but I don't see Arteta playing Champions League games, same back line, Premier League games, same back line, because you will eventually knacker out those players.
Yeah, but then the challenge is for Arteta to figure out how to rotate in the Premier League so that we've got our best back line available in the Champions League.
So you saying we should prioritise the Champions League?
Yeah.
Okay. Laurie, do you think?
It depends on who we're playing in the Premier League. When we're playing City and Liverpool, I think
it makes a good point. You've got to balance who you're playing in the league, possibly against who you're going to come up in the Champions League. So,
but the Premier League is so difficult.
I maintain that the squad that we've got, man, is a strong squad by anyone's standards, by Premier League and in Europe. So I fully expect. I mean, listen, let's look at that first game. So the first game is next week against PSV. We're at home. And let's have it right. PSV are a decent team. They've started the season well, actually. I think they played 3 and won 3. They were quite impressive in their qualifying. I think they beat Sturm Graz 7-3 or 7-2, and I think they did a similar job on Rangers, didn't they? So they're no mugs. That being said, though, we're at home. It's the first Champions League game for 6 years, so the anticipation will be high. We've got better players, I believe. I certainly believe we've got better players now than we've had in a long time. We should be winning that game, and we should get through this group. When people like Turkish and 1 and 12 are saying the only 2 teams we've got to worry about are Real Madrid and whoever, to me that's a bit of a stretch. But I do think that bare minimum for me is to get out of the group, and from then, depending on who you get, obviously, but you've got to get to the business end of the tournament. Absolutely, for me.
Michael, the defenders that we have, I'm going to read them back out. Cedric, Lino Souza, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, Ben White, Gabriel, Kivior and William Saliba. Arteta will rotate throughout this competition. And you're right with the back 4 that you mentioned. They are the strongest. And I feel so comfortable as a fan when they're there. But with the defenders we have there, he's going to rotate. I don't feel as confident. I get the group stages might be okay. But yeah, I do worry, I must say. That's me personally. I know you may be thinking different, but I don't expect Arsenal to have that back 4 that you mentioned, Premier League and Champions League. Because, I've seen those players, some of them play out of position in the Premier League, and we've struggled. So that's why there's a bit of doubt.
Are you afraid to be the same in your own act and valor as you are in desire? Would you have that which you esteem the ornament of life, and live a coward in your own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would?
The word coward resonated with me when you said that. No, but listen, I'm with you. I believe that we should go into this competition with a good degree of confidence, but not arrogance. And we got to get the balance right as fans. I'm pretty sure Mikel Arteta, as you said, he will look at the games and balance, the the attributes of the teams with the squad and see what's best for what. But no doubt, I'm expecting to do well against PSV next week, Wednesday.
Okay, Michael.
100%.
We are gonna come to the end of the call in a second, but I'm just gonna say my feelings. I liked your bit of poetry there, and it's not me being a coward. Trust me, I put myself in very difficult situations. I had to step up. But me as a fan, I've watched Arsenal. I'd have more confidence if I saw better from Arsenal in their opening performances. But I understand it takes time to click. But against Fulham, the draw at home disappointed me. Man United, yes, we won in the end, but it wasn't the most prettiest of wins. So that is why. So that is bringing my, I don't want to say coward, too harsh, but that is bringing my fear towards this Champions League. And I feel like we are doing the whole, this group is easy, Europa League-ish, and I'm victim of that. I was definitely doing that. This is the Champions League, and we haven't been here in a long time. So there is a bit of fear from my side, but
the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I knew that was coming. I knew that famous quote was coming. And that one is a great one. That was a good way to end it. But Michael, it's been a pleasure having you back on as well and getting your thoughts and feelings. Thank you so much, brother, and hopefully see you soon. Deanie is up next. Take care, Michael.
Take care,
Deanie
man.
in the wings. Deanie, are you there, my friend? Yes, my brother.
Well, go on.
Yeah, what's up?
How are you? Well?
I'm not too bad, man. I'm not too bad. Can you hear me clearly?
I'm hearing a bit. It's a bit crackly. It sounds like you're underwater a little bit. But hold on. Let me see if you can just focus.
It's coming through on your side as well. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, hold on. I think it's just working out. It is working out. Can you hear me now? Clearer?
I can hear you. What's it saying on my team?
Yeah, I can hear him. Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay, we'll run with this. It's a bit crackly. People in the comments, let me know. I need to go to Super Chats in a second as well. Let me know in the comments as well if the sound's okay. But let me get into it. Deanie, it's good to have you back here. But the Champions League, are Arsenal ready to get back into this? To be back in, are they ready to really push for this trophy? That is kind of the question. Because of course, being back in it is proven and granted from last season. But where we're at right now, how are you as a fan feeling being back, getting back into it?
It's a loaded question. It's a really, really loaded question.
Hey, I don't do loaded questions. I don't do loaded.
Yo, bro, that's a loaded question. It's a broad question as well because you can dissect it in many, many forms at the same time. Are we ready? Is the squad big enough? Are we ready mentally? Are we ready physically? Is Arteta ready now? Because we're coming in, like you said, we're coming into the Champions League now. That's another thing. Having the talk on social media and in the press conferences and in your interviews and saying, yeah, we want to be in the Champions League and this, that, and the other, that's all good and brilliant. But that first time when you hear that music, it will do a madness to your heart, and it's not the Europa League anymore. You know what I mean? You can lose the Europa League, but more time we knew we was going to get out of the group. We finished top more time when it came to the Europa League and everything else. But losing in the Champions League, that's pressure on game week 1. And then that goes into the Premier League and this, that, and the other, and it could be a backwards effect. But I don't think it will be like that because I do feel like these players have shown us that when it's time to step up, more time now, even though we did fall off towards the end of the season in terms of the Premier League. But when it's come time to let's show ourselves and let's show what we're about now, we've actually done that more. So I'll give the players that most definitely. The win against Man United is one of them. The win against Bournemouth is one of them. The wins against Aston Villa, like those big ones when it's like, yeah, we can go in and do this. That's where it's like the mentality is getting there for the Champions League. But it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game.
It is a different ball game. Yeah, it's a different ball game, Deanie. But if we say contrast Arsenal's group with that of, say, Newcastle's, they're in with PSG, Dortmund, Milan.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We are in with PSV, Lens, and Sevilla. And like
that's a good argument.
No disrespect to those teams.
Is it Newcastle?
No, by no means no disrespect. But if you're Arsenal, with the squad that we've assembled, with the success we've had last season, coming runners up to City, you would look at that group and say you've been quite fortuitous in the draw. Would you not agree with that?
No, I would not. I would absolutely agree with that. I would not like to be in Newcastle's draw, but at the same time, I agree with the point where you say about Turkey, saying we should only really worry about Madrid, Bayern, and them because when
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
No. I said I agree with your point about that.
Oh, I see. All right,
we shouldn't think that way because when it was coming up to the City games last season, we weren't going into them games all because we was foreshadowing what could happen against City. So if it's that, then we need to focus on game week 1. Just focus on PSV. Get that game out of the way, then build ourselves up think about that and make that our mentality now. Focus on the next game that's important, because that's what we need.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, we won't start falling behind, I don't believe. And plus, what is good as well, we've got Champions League winners in Jorginho and Kai Havertz, but we also have players that played in the Champions League. We've got Zinchenko, Partey, Jesus has played in the Champions League. Has Saliba played in the Champions League while he was on loan at Marseille? Or am I wrong?
I would imagine he would have done, wouldn't he?
Possibly, maybe. We do have players of that ilk that have played Champions League football that can handle this pressure at the same time. Littered with brilliant, up and coming, close to potentially being world-class players, depending on what they do this season, in like Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard. We have a nice mixture right now, and we have a manager that is ballsy enough to be like, yeah, we're going to do this. He said when he came in, he wants to win the Champions League in the first 3 years. Obviously, it hasn't happened, but that's the standard that he wants. And that's the standard that we need at Arsenal.
Yeah,
we need this at Arsenal. So, are we ready? We'll see you next week, Wednesday.
Well, let's buckle up. Listen, Dini, thank you so much for joining us, bro, and giving your saver. It's always good to see you, my friend. Pleasure. I'll speak to you soon. I've got a comment. Take care, Dean. I've got a comment here from Geeks of Muckleby. Says, can you imagine how revved up Saka, Martinelli, Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, White, Jesus, Odegaard, and Ramsey will be when they hear the music? Opponents be scared. And I think that's a mentality too. I actually think that's a mentality to have, because realistically, they've all spoken about this, but my thing is I don't want to hear lip service from the club. Like Mikel Arteta said, there's a 5-year plan for this process. I think we're a little bit ahead of it. I think we're 1 year ahead. So I just don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I believe they are going to be revved up for it. But again, we have to look at all the things around it of Arsenal being back in the Champions League. Because if we look at Newcastle, they're in now. I think they're well ahead of their schedule. I don't think but they have different pressures. I think them being in it is definitely a positive, but they can have completely different pressures to Arsenal Football Club because of the history of Arsenal Football Club. So it is a weird one. There is definitely questions to be asked. Dini was a great caller there, because the reason for the question, there's so many things you can pick off and talk about, and that's why I want to have this discussion today.
I can see where some fans have got reservations, because as I said before, our European record is not stellar. In Champions League, we got to the final in 2006. That was the highlight of our Champions League contention so far. However, I do think that it's a new day. Obviously, we've got a big squad. The manager's put together a very expensively assembled squad with some very good players, and I do think that we have enough to be getting through the group stages at the very least. Okay, let me just read off the super chats before we get back to the callers, because there's loads that have come in. Jersey B says squad rotation is the biggest factor in the Champions League, and I think that is very true. But I've just seen Arsenal in recent seasons over rotate, and I feel like it's gone wrong for him. So I am worried, but it'll be interesting to see what happens next Wednesday and who he puts in his starting 11, who he rotates, especially when we've got Everton on the weekend away, which has never been good for us in recent times. E Ross with a super chat says, whoever did the Cedric deal needs to be sacked. That might be my guy, Adu. But he's also come up with some good players and made some good signings as well, alongside Mikel Arteta. So, but I hear it. Thomas King with a super chat says, I love the Champions League. I can't wait to start. I have a feeling that we can get to the final this time. And just a shout out to you guys. Keep up the great work on this channel. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you, Thomas. Thank you very much. And a lovely super chat as well. Lee Jacobs says, I would have felt more confident in the Champions League if we had Kieran Tierney. That's a great point. And Timber in our squad instead of Cedric and Sousa. Just being honest, defensive depth is not Champions League level. Timber injury, not Mikel Arteta's fault. KT is. Lee Jacobs, fair play, my friend. That is actually a very well said, a very good super chat, because I very much agree with that. Obviously the Timber injury is not his fault, but I think we've suffered massively from that. And letting go of Kieran Tierney, I haven't spoken to a single fan that wanted Tierney to go out on loan. I think my reading of that situation is that Tierney was probably getting frustrated at the lack of opportunities. He's a senior player for the Scotland squad. You've got the Euros coming up next year. He probably went to the manager and said, look, I need some game time, so I'd like to be considered for loan if an appropriate loan comes up. He's got the opportunity to go out and play in Spain. He's taken that. So I do think that's a good move for him. But as I said, most fans wouldn't have wanted to see him go out on loan at all.
I agree.
So let's hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the bum.
Well, let's hope you. Yeah, it's a shame. But anyway, let's get to the callers, because there is some more people. We're gonna fly through them as we come towards the end of the show. Kian, are you there? Hello.
Hey guys, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Kian, where are you calling in from? There's an accent.
I'm from Ireland originally, but I live in Manchester.
Oh, nice. Well, Kian, let's get straight into the topic. Are Arsenal ready to be back in the Champions League? Where are your thoughts on this? Is it loaded? Is there worries that you have?
I think it's very interesting kind of seeing everyone's input so far. So, like, my opinion, I think realistically, fans should be expecting we should be top in the group, realistically, in that group. I think you look at the teams in there. PSV obviously have lost some of their key players to that team, even from the qualifiers. Like Sagare's got to Nottingham Forest, and Javi Simmons as well.
He's gone. Correct.
Cody Gakpo.
Cody Gakpo as well, another big player there is gone. You got Sevilla as well, pretty much after they won the
Europa
League last year. They basically transfer listed their whole squad because they're in huge financial difficulty. So a lot of their team is different as well. You obviously lost their big important player in Bonu in goals as well, who went off to the Saudi League. And obviously the big pull for them is obviously bringing Sergio Ramos in, so I'm not looking forward to having our strikers play against him and get some
getting injured there. Yeah, amen, well said.
I think realistically, when you look at, if we top the group, I think we don't get maybe one of the big hitters in the next round, so realistically we should be expecting to get to at least the quarterfinals potentially. Because you look at most of the groups, a lot of the big hitters more likely will top their group, and then obviously we avoid all the English teams in the next round anyway, because of being from the same country. So realistically, my expectation is at least the quarterfinals, hopefully, if results go our ways.
No fear of Lons? Lons obviously come second last year in League 1. Are you not fearful of them at all?
No, I think they're a side as well. They've lost a big player in Fofana as well.
That's true.
That was a big loss for them.
That's a good point.
I think for them, they don't have any players really who've played Champions League football. So that might come obviously as a weakness to them. Obviously, we're lucky we have the few players that have the experience of Champions League football. Just to confirm for Dini, Saliba didn't play in the Champions League, played in the Europa League with Marseille, played 6 appearances in the Europa League and 6 appearances in the Conference League that season.
Go on, Kiel.
I do a research, sorry. But I think realistically we should be expecting to top the group if we put our strongest squad out. Now, obviously, I do agree with a lot of people, our squad depth isn't as strong, especially in the defensive side, and I agree with, like all fans will, that Kieran Tierney should have been kept, really, and I don't know what's happened there, what Arteta's seen as the issue there, because I think defensively Kieran Tierney is very good compared to Zinchenko, and he can play as a centre back as well, very good kind of physical presence there. He does that for Scotland. And at times, even going forward, he's hit some lovely balls and got some great assists, and scored a few crackers cutting in from the left as well.
Yeah, the West Brom game.
I think it comes down to the fact that Kieran Tierney, I mean, listen, I'm theorising here, but I honestly think that he's approached Mikel Arteta and said, look, I need to be playing. I'm one of Scotland's senior players. Got the Euros coming up next year. I'm not getting enough game time. I need game time. And I reckon he's insisted on that, and I think that Arsenal probably reluctantly have agreed to send him out on loan, depending on who the loanee was. He's got a decent team in La Liga, and I think he'll do well, so he will be missed. Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%. Quickly, Kim, before you get you off quickly, who would you start in goal for the Champions League? Would you put David Raya in goal, or is it?
I think Raya suits the Champions League standard, because I think the way we like to play around the back and that, Raya is more suited to that style, and we're going to have to probably play that style more for possession style. Yeah, I think Ramsdale's more a long ball man, which we're not going to get much of in the Champions League when you're playing some of the opposition will be playing. So that's my feeling, and I do think Arteta might start Ramsdale for the first game, obviously, to get suited, but then I think he'll bring Ramsdale in. So I do agree with you on that. I do think that will happen.
Thank you very much.
One quick question before you go.
Go on,
Ireland
man.
for the World Cup, rugby. What do you reckon? They've got a good chance, yeah?
But this is AFTV.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
He's a football man,
Yeah, but you know, he's like me. He likes his rugby.
I hear that. I hear that. Well, listen. Thank you very much, Kieran. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for all your information. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you again on here soon. Very good call, my friends. Thank you very much. We have Javier next. Oh, it's looking tropical where he is. Looking nice. Right.
That body language tells me that he's ready for smoke.
I'm hoping not, because it won't be. It shouldn't be happening. This is your competition, bro. This is what you've been. There shouldn't be no smoke here. Go on.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I had so much smoke for partying when you guys had that FANZONE special on, and I was actually getting my hair cut.
Oh,
and I saw it. I got the notification like, "Oh, we want to hear your voice on Fans." And I saw the topic, and I was like, Belgium, you unlucky man, because I was gonna come for your voice so hard. I had so much scorched earth for Thomas Partey.
It's a conversation that we might be revisiting.
Yeah, there might be some revisiting to it at some point, I'm sure. Because
what's your thoughts on the Champions League? Are we ready?
Well, to answer the question, are we ready to be back in it? Yeah, we're ready to be back in it. Are we ready to compete and actually try to put ourselves in a position to win it? That's two separate questions.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the football club that's going to be losing 10-2 on aggregate in the round of 16, and we're going to be, feeling embarrassed. I don't think, that's where we're at right now. I think, if anything, we'll have very respectable exits. But I do think that for us to actually be in a position where we can say, hey, we can win this thing, we still need a lot more in terms of quality and depth.
I would agree with that. What's your bare minimum for the Champions League?
Quarterfinal.
Yeah, that was mine too.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair.
And in terms of this group, what do you think of the group? PSV, Lens, and Sevilla.
If we don't top that group, then we have no right to actually say that we have a chance to win it. And even when you looked at the favorites to win the Champions League, I think we were like 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
if we can't top that group, I'm going to be coming on here and I'm going to be very critical.
Yeah,
as I usually am, but even more so.
I think that's fair. I want to ask you about, obviously, the keeper, because I did like that question we had from the first caller. Who would you start, Ramsdale or Raya? And just quickly, Kieran spoke about, he agreed with me. I think Ramsdale will start, but then we'll see David Raya come in. But I then disagreed with him because he talks about, playing out from the back. David Raya definitely does suit that better. But if we do mix up that back line, that gives me anxiety. If we start putting players like Cedric and that in, and then we have a ball-playing goalkeeper, I want to have the strongest back line. I'm confident in being able to play at the back. So would you think Arteta is going to pick David Raya from the beginning, or do you think Ramsdale will figure for most of the Champions League?
The whole Arteta situation is really confusing me. I was very critical of his ruthlessness last time we spoke, because he's ruthless in some positions and with some players and much more lenient with others.
Agreed.
With Ramsdale, yes, his distribution does need improving, but people forget that goalkeepers hit their prime much later on in their careers as opposed to outfield players.
Correct.
And when you look at Ramsdale's age and where he is right now in terms of his distributional ability and his shot-stopping ability, he's way ahead, as many elite keepers of that, play style were when they were his age.
Yeah.
So to deny him
Javier in the wind
for one to actually be able to, grow in this competition, I think that it would be doing him a disservice.
Okay. Okay.
I had a question for Xavi, actually.
Go on.
Right, so as we all know, he's gone.
He's gone. It's Javi. He said Xavi, isn't it?
Xavi,
the midfielders there. That
my question was,
hold tight, Xavi. Actually, man, was in the press
if
conference.
we do get him back, I will put the question to him. But I'll put the question to you, Cecil. So, given that we're in two major competitions this year, the Premier League and the Champions League, which one would you prioritise? I mean, given that we have won the Premier League, although it was way back in 2003-4 and all that. But we've never won the Champions League, got to one final.
I prioritise the Premier League personally. I'm not saying that you just throw away the Champions League, of course not. I just think my expectations are to, in coming second last season, that we continue to push on and push forward. So mine will be the Premier League, but listen, I hope we get as far as we can with the Champions League. We'll get him. Javi, I believe you're back to give the last final say on that. Thoughts there? What would you prioritise, the Premier League or the Champions League? Laurie, wanted to ask you before you headed out today.
I would say Premier League, man. This team, if you look at it, I think in Champions League, the badge weighs heavy. And unfortunately, Arsenal doesn't have the greatest European pedigree or history. I mean, you've seen clubs like Real Madrid, even when they're down and out, somehow they just find a way. History in this competition is worth so much. So I think that we're going to have to build that, and really, these players, it's the first time not only playing every 3 days, but when you have a very, very poor result in the league, being able to separate those emotions 3 days later, go out and play a Champions League game away and separate the emotions.
Hostile, environment.
That is difficult. That is difficult. That takes, there's a lot more challenges than just, the physical stuff. There's the emotional and the mental side of the games that these guys are going to have to learn how to manage playing multiple competitions. So focus on the league, because I think that's the first hurdle. And very rarely, it happens a few times, but very rarely do you see a club win the Champions League and not win their league. Usually it's clubs who have a big enough gap where they can rotate and put some more fringe players in the league and risk dropping points to make sure that their main guys are fresh for those tough knockout games that usually win the league. Very rarely do you see a team who's struggling for the league and is still competing in Champions League.
100%. Well, listen, Javier, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, man. Speak soon. Take care. Thank you very much. And I'm going to end the poll. 977 of you got involved. I'm going to end it here. Does Arsenal have a stronger squad than last season? 72% said yes. 28% said no. So you were right in
of course I was right.
What you feel.
To me, that's a no-brainer, man. I mean, you bring in the likes of Declan Rice for 100 million. You bring in Jurien Timber, you bring in Havertz. Okay, Havertz has not hit the ground running yet, but those are 3 quality players there.
Yeah, so including David Raya, but I just at this stage,
not including David Raya. I didn't include David Raya initially, but you've just done that, and you were right to do so. That to me makes us a significantly stronger squad than we were last year. A year stronger as well in terms of experience, both for the players and the manager. That's got to count for something.
It definitely accounts for something. I just don't want to. I'm not running away with it in the sense of there's not fields and levels above this squad compared to last season. And what I've only just due to where we're at right now, the injury to Timber, Havertz not hitting the ground running. I'm sure he will. Those sort of things, we haven't really seen David Raya in an Arsenal shirt. So there's still, for me...
Listen, there's always going to be questions.
Of course. Of course.
What I mean? And you're quite right. You've raised some very plausible questions there. But what I'm saying is the squad depth, to me, should ensure, as long as we approach the games in the right manner. I spoke earlier about the dangers of complacency.
I don't think the squad depth's that good.
One or two fans talking about the only 2 teams we've got to worry about is Madrid and whoever. No, I'm not with that. But what I am with is that if we approach the games in the right manner and the manager picks the right teams, then I'm fully expectant that we'll get to at least the quarterfinals for this particular Champions League.
Okay, well, listen, Laurie, thank you so much on that. I'm just going to quickly read the super chat here that we have here from Lee Jacobs. He's returning with a super chat. Thank you, Lee. Did compliment your last one because I fully agreed with it. The poll about our squad being strengthened or not in midfield and attack, yes, he says. And if it has been strengthened in the midfield and attack, but in defence we've weakened. Might be okay for group stages, but could pay for it in the knockouts. Raya should be the cup goalkeeper. And I think the squad depth thing for me personally, is getting a bit, I don't know, I feel like it's getting blown out of proportion. The reason why is because if the performances were better from Arsenal at the start of the season, I know it's 4 games, I would feel a bit more, confident in saying we've got squad depth. Because look at the Man United game. Yes, we won 3-1, but like I said, it wasn't a pretty game from Arsenal. The bench, I looked at it and was like, yes! Gabriel Jesus, Takehiro Tomiyasu, Jorginho, Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, Emile Smith-Rowe, Jakob Kivior, Leandro Trossard, and David Raya. To me, that is a strong bench. That is squad depth. However, the performance hasn't, for me, I don't see the team that played, I don't see the performance be so ahead and so advanced. I'm like, we have such a good squad that, when the first 11's out there, I'm confident. And when the subs come in, we've got great bench. That's where I worry, in my personal opinion. I don't think the squad depth is as good as what everyone is making out.
I think it's a case that you're right to highlight the fact that we've not been at our fluid best, but we should also take into account that we are only 4 games into the season.
Okay.
There's still a long way to go. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And again, I refer back to the squad depth. I would say, and I may be a little biased, obviously, but I would say that the squad that we've assembled this season is one of the strongest squads, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe. And look at the kind of players and the names we've got in that squad. We do have a pretty strong squad. So if the performances come anywhere close to what we're expecting, we should have a very decent season.
Now, I'm going to wrap it up and just leave some final thoughts from this live, because we've spoken about squad a lot. Thomas Partey is also injured now, added to Jurgen Timber. There is the AFCON as well.
Talking of Partey though, I read something where they're saying that he might be back earlier than what a lot of people are suggesting, which is something that we spoke about on the show last week.
We have spoken about it, but he is injured again, and I do want to mention, obviously, like I said, AFCON.
What I'm hearing, it's not expected to be a long-term injury.
Okay, well, let's hope he is returning before the next international break, which is in October, which was they were saying that he was going to be back after that. But I'm just making people aware, again, AFCON in January. There's the Asia Cup as well, so which we might lose Tomiyasu to as well, which I'm sure we will.
No, but these are, when you mention those cup competitions, they are competitions that will affect other clubs as well as us. I'm
aware of this, but we're talking about squad depth, and I'm just giving you the full picture of why I have my fears. That is it. There's cup competitions, there's injuries, it's not as you keep saying about the squad depth being good. I'm just showing.
As my friend Michael says, do not allow fear to consume you, my friend.
All right. Well, we'll see. Listen, do you know what? We'll see. We'll leave it there. Listen, thank you everyone that's joined us on this Fan Zone Live. Again, like I said, it's very easy to get involved. Download the AFTV Plus app, and you can join us in these conversations. Maybe you agree with Laurie, maybe you agree with me, maybe you agree with some of the callers, but get involved. We do see you all in the chat, and thank you everyone that joined us on the YouTube, comment in the comment section and in the super chats. It's been a pleasure. Stay tuned for all the AFTV content coming your way and build up to the Everton game this Sunday. We are back. The Premier League is back. International break is over, even though there is a game tonight. So make sure you watch out, because we believe Eddie Nketiah will be getting some minutes. Fingers crossed we see him represent the country of England. It'd be nice to see him in a top alongside Bukayo Saka and Aaron Ramsdale. Thank you everyone. Laurie, thank you for joining me.
No worries, bro.
It's been a pleasure. Like the video if you like the video, and guys and girls, I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Peace.